That's the most informative media I've ever done.
Usually we're getting asked questions.
Yeah,
It's nice to just listen.
This is way better.
Suddenly you see a cat and then you're flying and then Superman comes in and all of that fantastic stuff.
So what, are they just like in a bed next to you and then you just...
Well, I'm outside the room. I don't want to be next to somebody when I wake them up. We're here at St George's Park to talk to the Lionesses about disrupted sleep and why it's important to beat it to make sure that you do your best on the pitch and feel your best off the pitch too. Hiya, nice to meet you. Hi, cheers.
Hiya, Grace, nice to meet you.
Hi, Rachel,
nice to
meet you.
If you've had a bad night's sleep before a game, what's the best way to recover or cope the next day?
The more you think about that bad night of sleep, the more likely it will be for you not to sleep the next night. One night of poor sleep hasn't killed anybody, but it can impact your performance. So try and relax, try and put yourself back into a good routine the next night. Try not to have a lie-in as well to catch up, because you don't really catch up on that sleep. So try and stick to routine if you can.
I wouldn't say like I'm grumpy, but like it takes me a while to process in the morning. I'm slow.
So bad.
I'm not like open my eyes and ping. I'm like half an hour, then you'll start getting conversations slowly. But everyone's so different. Like some people can just open their eyes and like need to get out of bed straight away.
Have you heard of larks and owls? So in our body clock, we have different types of people. You are early birds or your night owls, and that is in our genetics. That is built into who we are. I'm really lucky, I'm a sleep scientist. I'm an owl, genetically built. I do much better in the night, which is really lucky because a lot of my job is staying up at night. And so in the morning, I'm exactly like you. If I have to get up for a 9 a.m. meeting, people just avoid me because unless I've had vats of coffee, I'm just sort of sat there grumpy. Whereas you catch me at 11 p.m. and that's where my best thinking, everything is pinging and it is wonderful. But yeah, it's all about the person. One way to counter that when we're feeling really tired and sluggish in the mornings is to get natural light as quickly as you can. Even something simple like eating breakfast or having your first coffee by a window is enough to break down any remaining sort of sleep chemical in your body. So it's melatonin is our sleep hormone that tells us when we should be asleep, and it makes us drowsy. So sitting by a window, getting that light breaks that down and can make you feel alert a little bit quicker.
Are you quite early because of the dog?
I'm early because of the dog.
Yeah, so having routine and having something
really
waking you
good.
up.
I always do the same thing every morning because obviously I have my dog, so yeah, we're up early, but I'm like not like sitting around, I'm doing stuff, so I actually really enjoy it being up quite early. So
getting up and walking the dog and getting the light, getting that light then keeps you in that early bird rhythm.
I don't think I'm a night out or a morning person. I think I could go to sleep at 10 p.m. and wake up at 10 a.m. and be quite happy.
Like a long sleeper then. See, that's also sort of the paradox with it, is that, you know, sleep myths, people think that we need to sleep 8 hours, and it's one of the worst myths out there, because I get so many people come up to me going, well, I'm not sleeping 8 hours, is this gonna, you know, and it's like, but do you feel okay? And they're like, well, yeah, actually, I feel perfectly fine. It's like, well, then you really don't need any help if you feel okay. And some people do really well on 6-hour short sleepers, and some do really well on 12 hours.
Is it the screen time itself that's the problem, or more about the stimulation?
It's exactly that. We used to think it was the light from the screens, but actually, if you're out getting enough light during the day, which you will be because you're training all day, so you're getting all of that natural light, so the light in the evening isn't going to impact you as much. When we sleep, we're not actually unconscious, otherwise you think you wouldn't wake up for your alarm clock. When we're doing really engaging things like gaming on our phone, or we're in a Snapchat streak, or we're sat on Instagram or something and having those conversations, you can't turn your brain off quick enough to go to sleep. So although you'll be asleep, your brain will still be slightly awake, listening for those alerts and things on your phone. So it's that content and what you're doing that's a problem. With our mobile phones at night, what we should be doing is trying to end that conversation 30 minutes or so before bed, and then putting it out of the room, getting it away from you if you can, because then that allows us to take a break from it and get off to sleep.
I actually think going on my phone makes me sleepy, so then I just nod off after.
But it's part of a routine, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like if you're sat there scrolling and you're reading something or doing something relaxing, it can be really helpful. And it's one of the things we say is that these habits, if you're struggling to sleep, then these are the things you can try and fix. But if it's part of your routine, if I was to take that away from you right now, one, you'd be like, Rachel, what are you doing? Give me my phone back. But also it would then stop you sleeping because I've broken that habit of yours. But things like night mode and that can help by just taking some of the light off.
Sometimes after evening matches or late training sessions, it's hard to switch off. Why does that happen and what can we do about it?
Sleep is a really risky thing, right? If you think from the animal kingdom, when we sleep, we're at threat of other animals and predation. So when you've been out playing, your adrenaline's going, you're all pumped up, your body's not ready for sleep yet. You might be thinking about what you did in the match and that might be turning your brain over. So one of the things you can do that could be really helpful is just trying like a mindfulness app, trying to quiet that brain down. If you've had a tricky training time or a tricky match, writing those thoughts down and putting them in a book and then putting that book somewhere else can get those thoughts, we call it putting the day to rest. Recognizing all these thoughts are going through your head, but then putting it somewhere else gets it out of your brain and allows you to rest. Things like a warm bath, stretching, yoga, meditation are all things that can help your sort of brain quiet down and get yourself ready for sleep.
I don't even know what I do. I just stay on my phone or watch something on TV. I stay downstairs sometimes because there's no point in me just going to bed if I'm not going to sleep.
That's really good. We will only sleep when we're ready to sleep, when our mind and body are ready to sleep, right? I could keep you all awake tonight. What I couldn't do is if you all came down to Oxford and we put you in the lab, I couldn't make you go to sleep unless you were ready to go to sleep. One of the things we see with people who struggle sleeping is they get into bed and then they try really, really, really hard to go to sleep, and that's going to stop you sleeping. And then what it might do is it might make you think that the bed is a place for wakefulness and for ruminating and thinking about things rather than being a place for rest. So what we tell people is if you can't get to sleep and it's been what you think is quarter of an hour, don't watch the clock, otherwise you won't sleep. Get up and leave that bed and go sit somewhere else, somewhere quiet, somewhere comfy. We tell people to, make a little sort of reading nook, all your comfy things in it, and just break that place of the bed as a place of wake.
How does stress and pressure, whether from sport or life, show up in our sleep patterns?
Stress raises something called cortisol, the stress hormone that's in our body. And when that is high, we don't sleep as deeply. And our sleep, although we can sleep won't be as deep and it won't be as restful. What you might also find is you can start to dream a little bit more, and you might find that your dream sort of reflects things that have gone wrong in the day. It might be a bit more emotional.
I don't really remember my dreams, so I never really know.
Is that actually a thing?
Not remembering your dreams?
Yeah.
We can't see what you're dreaming, and then you'll wake up in the morning, tell us all these fancy things, and it's like, well, we've just been sat in the dark with you, you know. When we dream, dreaming is learning what we've done in the day, and you have two different types of dreams. So when you have done something like a new drill or something like to do with your performance, so like a skill, you'll have a deep sleep dream. So if you ever have one of those, it's usually the really boring ones where you've gone and done something, or you've just driven in a car or something like that. REM, the dream sleep dreams, there you have that majority sort of in the last third of the night. And they're the really exciting ones. That's where our emotional processing takes place. And they're the ones where suddenly you see a cat and then you're flying and then Superman comes in and all of that fantastic stuff. But you're right, we only know you're dreaming when you wake up and tell us that you're dreaming. Or I've woke you up to ask you, are you dreaming or not? And then you're unhappy with me.
People?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. Are you dreaming? Did you dream in colour? What's your emotion like? Because our sleep impacts like our mood. And so one of the things we want to look at is if you're not getting enough sleep, how is your mood the next day? And how does then that impact sort of your physical and mental health later on?
That's interesting.
That is very interesting.
So what, are they just like in a bed next to you and then you just...
Well, I'm outside the room. I don't want to be next to somebody when I wake them up. I want to be away from them when I wake them up, but yeah.
So do they just go into Oxford and just get in a bed in a dark room?
Yeah, well,
I
in the lab.
sleep because of the pressure.
So they're sleeping in a lab?
Yeah. In a lab, sometimes we do the sleep in the home environment, but yeah, so So what we'll do is things like, so we'll put sort of wires on their head so we can look at their brain waves, and then we look at how sort of sleep impact, or not sleeping, so people with insomnia, how that impacts their sort of performance. So we do some stuff like that around performance, mood, diabetes, all sorts of bits.
What are some practical ways to wind down after high intensity activity or competition? I feel like you said before, yoga, meditation.
Physical activity is really cool. So our body responds to that physical activity. So if you do some sort of like high physical activity about 3, 4, 5 o'clock, not too close to bed, our body responds by increasing the amount of deep sleep. The first third of our night is all that deep sleep. Babies have an awful lot of it. Children, you can sort of pick children up and move them without them waking up because they're in that really deep sleep, because that's where we grow and that's where our immune system refreshes and where our muscles repair. So if you do something in the day that causes sort of a lot of sort of muscle strain, your body will respond by increasing the amount of deep sleep.
I feel like you touched on this as well, but gaming or scrolling on our phones can be a part of how we relax. How much does that affect our sleep quality?
If you're not having a problem sleeping, then it's not going to cause them. Breaking you out of routine will cause more of a problem. If you're doing gaming and scrolling, so gaming doing something that's sort of really sort of stimulating and a little bit jumpy, that might impact your sleep. If you're scrolling and reading things, like you said, after a bad game or something, and you're reading a lot of negative comments, there's a lot of negativity on social media, that can then impact your sleep, because then you start thinking about things and worrying yourself, and then you're not able to turn off and go to sleep. Really using your mobile phone as a source of mindfulness, using it to play, some people find like nature sounds really helpful. Yeah, that can be a really good thing, but try to avoid anything that's making you feel a little bit anxious or a little bit stressed.
For anyone who feels stuck in a bad sleep cycle, what's the first step to getting back on track?
Don't think too much about the bad sleep cycle. One night of bad sleep, as I said, isn't the end of the world. You will be able to cope. You might feel a little bit more tired. You are going to be more grumpy with your teammates, with your colleagues. One of the things when we don't sleep, we can't pick out the emotion on other people as well, so you don't recognise the emotion as well. But try not to focus on that and get yourself back into routine as quickly as you can, and that can help improve our sleep cycles again.
Travel and time zones are a big part of football. What's the best way to manage disturbed sleep on the road?
Really, really tricky, because it's jet lag, right, as you're going to different places. If you can, start moving your body clock early. So we have a clock inside our brain over there, and it tells us whether it's night or day. And it's that disconnect between your body clock and the world around you. So if you've ever got up, I imagine you've all got up early to fly out somewhere, either on holiday or for a game, and your stomach always feels like it's really knotted, you feel sick, you feel grumpy, you feel tired, all the symptoms of jet lag, and you try and eat, but then you feel sick. And it's your body, your clocks in your stomach are asleep, but your body's awake. So part of your body's asleep, part of it's awake, and that's what can make you feel really rough and horrible. What you can try and do is start moving your clock before you get to the new time zone. If you've got like a 2-hour time difference, what you can do is wear sunglasses for a little bit in the morning and try to go to bed a little bit later, and try and change your time zone slowly. When you're on the flight out there or driving out there, whatever you're doing, try and, as soon as you get there, eat, sleep to that time zone, and that will reset your clock much quicker.
How can we create a good bedtime routine, especially when training and travel schedules are all over the place?
So consistency is key. I mean, that's what it all is trying to build a bedtime routine for you. So we say start thinking and getting ready for sleep about 60 minutes before you're planning on going to sleep. So start closing down all of the open windows for the day. So think about shutting down your computer, trying to sort of tone back on social media, turn your lights down dim. Start sort of getting that routine in of, this is it, I'm going to go start doing something relaxing. If you're one of those people who like having a bath in the evening, pick up a book. Good sleep is all about good routine for sleep.
We all know sleep is important, but how much does it really impact our performance and recovery as athletes?
Everything that we've measured so far sleeps, apart from there's a toad in Australia that may or may not have a rest period. We're not sure. I mean, just don't want to put electrodes on a toad, really. When we go off to sleep, our body starts to repair and our muscles build. So it's really important. If we don't sleep well, we're more likely to get injuries and we're more likely to get colds. It impacts our mood, so we're more likely to feel low mood, be snappy with people and be grumpy. There has been studies where they've shown that if somebody is getting not enough sleep and you increase their sleep by an hour, their sprint times improve by up to about a second. Their accuracy in shots also massively improves. So not only will you be less grumpy with your teammates, you'll be better on the pitch and you'll feel better off the pitch as well.
Is that only after like a certain amount of nights of bad sleep or just one bad sleep?
One bad night of sleep can impact it, but yeah.
Oh, really?
So, you got to have a very sort of short night of sleep, and if you do it frequently, it just builds up and builds up and builds up. And the problem is you can't catch up on that sleep. So although you have a lie-in, only about half an hour of that lie-in is actually useful sleep. The rest is that sort of dozy, drifty stage that isn't going to be good for sort of muscle repair. So trying to keep consistent in how much sleep you're getting is key.
Does food or caffeine really make that big of a difference to how we sleep, and what should we watch out for?
Food, not so much. Don't go to bed full because then you'll be digesting it and you might not sleep as well. It is a complete myth that cheese gives you nightmares and things. Eating anything heavy at night is going to cause your sleep to be lighter, and then you might wake up more and then remember your dreams, and then you're having these crazy dreams anyway and you'll just be more likely to remember them. Caffeine and secret sources of caffeine is a huge, huge problem. So really, we shouldn't be having more than 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine as adults. Children, it's less, about 120 milligrams of caffeine. 1 cup of coffee, you're looking at about 100 milligrams. So for a child having that, they're already overdosing on their caffeine. Caffeine doesn't make us more alert, it just makes you feel more alert. So during the day, our sleep pressure builds up, and our sleep pressure is a chemical called adenosine, builds up in the brain. All caffeine does is stop you being able to recognise that that's there. So all the adenosine is still there, you just don't know that it's there in your brain. So if you ever had a caffeine crash where you've been really tired, had all that coffee, the coffee's worn off, and then suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really, really tired now. And that's just your body seeing it. Caffeine takes 6 hours to leave our system. So if you're having coffee late at night, it's going to then make your sleep less restful, or you might find it harder to go off to sleep.
The thing about caffeine, we take it like before games as like a performance enhancer almost. So like say like we play at 8, then we have caffeine at like 7:45.
Yeah.
But it's like one of them shots, it's got a lot in. So
Yeah.
what do you think about that?
I think caffeine can be really useful for boosting alertness. Caffeine does make you
Yeah,
feel
it's
more
good for
alert.
performance, isn't it?
And it does enhance your performance, and it stops you feeling tired, it stops you feeling fatigued, it can make you more sort of, it can make your reaction times quicker, right? But then when you're taking it so close to a match, you're then physically exhausted from the match and you're tired, and then you're trying to wind down and go to sleep, and it could then impact you. Does it impact you falling off to sleep afterwards?
Yeah, I think that's why I can't go to sleep after the
match.
game, but it benefits me, so I just don't know where, like what you do.
Exactly, it's really hard because on the one hand it's really useful.
Yeah.
So trying to help that bedtime routine and having that low light and that relaxing, and knowing that actually after you've had that caffeine, it is going to take 6 hours for it to leave your system. So if you can't go to sleep straight away, that's something that, it's something manageable, that you know why this is happening.
Are naps a good thing for players, or can they make nighttime sleep worse?
So naps are really useful for players, a bit like the caffeine, right? Napping can increase our alertness, increase our performance, and it also helps boost your creativity and able to sort of join the dots between situations. Napping shouldn't be more than sort of 20 to 30 minutes, so very short sleeps, and then you get enough of that deep sleep to help you feel repaired and energized, but it isn't enough to then break down your sleep in the evening. Really, you shouldn't nap sort of after about sort of 5 p.m, 4 or 5 p.m.
Thanks so much, I actually learned quite a lot.
Me too.
there.
It was
Oh,
good.
thanks
Thank
guys.
you. That's the most informative media
Yeah.
I've ever done.
Seriously, usually we're getting asked questions.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
it's nice to just listen.
This is way better.